Hey everyone, Pullbacker here again, and we've got another phone to fix today, so it looks like we're doing 2 videos in one. I just gotta get my gloves on, because we never know what someone has done with their phone or where it's been, so it's probably a good precaution to always make sure you do wear some sort of protection. I'm still a mid-range repair person, so I'm wearing blue. When I get up to a high level of technical, I will convert to black. Because, well, if you're a black belt technician, you can wear black gloves. Right, so we've got a 5C here. It's just got a busted screen. There's no touch response on it, which is pretty normal for this level of damage. But, you can see up here, the cables come in here. When they crack up here, it's pretty impossible to get them to respond after that. Usually I like to try and turn them off before I do any work, but in this case I've tried a fair bit and it won't slide across. So I'll try pressing this around and doing this. Sometimes it works, but not in this case, so we'll just have to go at it. No real choice. Okay. I actually like the 5C a lot. It's a nice simple phone, it's easy to work on. And it looks like this will be the 3rd time I've worked on this one, so we've got a repeat customer here, which is good. I mean, it's not good that they keep breaking the phone, but it's good that they keep bringing it back to me. It would be 3 times in about since April, and it's currently November. That's off. I've already marked the screws here, so I don't need to remark them. Missing screw there. Wonder what happened. I'll have to look for that one. And we've got water damage marker triggered off there. Where is my screw? So I've got a couple missing in there. Flip it over, give it a shake out. Nothing? What's going on here? Now the screw that concerns me that's missing is, it's actually this one down here. It's part of the antenna assembly, I think. And that should definitely not be missing. No, I wouldn't send it out with that sort of thing not there. And I'll have to check back on my old invoices to see if I actually had changed the charge port on this, because that's missing its compression pad. Fortunately, what I do with all the phones is I track the AMI so that if they ever come back, I know what history it's got, which is surprisingly useful. But before I get into this, I'm going to get my spares and find those screws. I'm actually very lucky in this town. The people, if they have broken equipment, something that can't be repaired, they're usually very good at giving it to me as a just as something to keep it stocked. What's going on here? Close. Unfortunately, my eyesight's not really the greatest in this light. The light seems bright, but because it's coming from directly ahead, I find it causes a lot of reflections. It makes it hard to clearly see things when you've got shiny metal screws on black backgrounds. Alright, well, that'll solve that one. I'll have to find that long screw. I think I can use a 2.4mm from the iPhone 4s for that one, and because it's going through to the chassis and not actually onto the PC board, like these two here, you can get away with it being a little bit longer or not perfect because it's not going to cause any long screw damage. Yeah, that's a little strange. Yeah, I might just move this plastic protector on. So you need 2 tweezers. Come on. There we go. Ah, marvellous. Alright, put that aside. So strip this one down. For a long time, when the iPhone 5 first came out, the iPhone 5C was sort of like the ugly duckling that no one wanted to know about, no one would buy. And I think as time went by and towards the end of the production run, people realised it was actually a good phone. And the durability of the plastic casing was a very useful thing to have. It's a lot easier to get the bends out of that than it is the metal ones of the iPhone 5 and 5S. I have found in the past, if I get a really severe bend in one of these corners, I can heat it up with my hot air gun to, I think it's about 150 or so degrees, and then I can just use my G-tool corner former. It's got the same radius and everything as the iPhone 5, 5S. So you heat it up, you put it in the corner former, tighten it down, and then you've got a perfect corner again. So it's really convenient. And I know some people don't like using these G-tools, but I find I use it quite a few times every day. It definitely was worth the money I spent on it. Not for everyone, of course. I'm talking too much and not thinking about what I'm doing here. Right. This person really did give it a good knock. Those things are just falling out. What have I missed? Nothing. There we go. Haha. Managed to keep all my sticky tape on the home button so I don't have to redo them. Yep, looks like I need more compression pads off this again. Yeah. So here's a look at the drawer. You don't know whether you're going to get them in your replacement or not. We're getting over there. Fresh paper towel. I'll buy these napkins. They cost me about $3 for 500 of them. Yeah, it lasts me pretty good. Alright, the rebuild sequence. On this, I chop and change a fair bit. Sometimes I put the home buttons back in first, other times I put the back plate on first. Depends on the mood of the day. Depends on what happens to be at hand quickest. Now, if you're ever wondering if it's difficult to work in gloves, I will say it is harder at first. When you're used to doing bare hand work and you go to gloves, you feel like, particularly at the tips, they fold up when you're trying to handle fine things or you're trying to rotate. But after a while, you do get used to it. You work around these things. And the downside is that once you're used to it and you go back to being just bare hands again, you actually start to feel really icky when you're touching all this stuff. And you're like, oh. So you start washing your hands a lot more. This top screw here is a bit of a funny one that catches out a lot of people. If you ever lose these, you'll notice they're not the same as the side ones. But if you've got old iPhone 4, 4S's, it's the same as the 1.7mm screw in those. The 1.7 is the one that holds down the 4S battery plate. Let's get the 1.5s in. Now, if I was a really smart person, I would wear something like a jeweler's bib, so if I ever lose a screw, it's right there in the bib for me to collect. But instead, they fall onto the 6th dimension carpet, and I never find them again. At least not on the day. I'll find them a few weeks later when I'm looking for something else, and I go, oh, where's that screw from that time? Yeah, no use then. But at least you pick it up and put it back into your supply of screws you need when you don't need them. Right, microphone in, you gotta make sure you put that in, otherwise the person will get some strange sound distortion. It's just a noise cancelling, I believe, but it can manipulate things. Oh, man, one of those days. Alright, these little things here, for a long time my replacement screens actually had them supplied, and I didn't really care about retaining these. Then all of a sudden start drying up, and before I know it, I'm scrounging around in my trash parts trying to find replacements because I couldn't find them anywhere else. Oh, one thing to watch out, there's a rubber, I've got it down now, I don't want to pull it back up. There's a little rubber hood that sits on top of the proximity sensor, I think, or the phase sensor. Don't lose that. If you lose that, it causes intermittent issues with the phone when people are using it. So it would be in the middle of a call and all of a sudden it just decides there isn't a face next to it anymore. And then while the person's face is there, when it brushes up against all the digits and whatnot, do things like hang up calls or all sorts of strange behaviour. So don't lose it. This is the downside of these phones. It's trying to get the earpiece outlet to line up. I almost never do. So you got to stretch and pull, and if it gets really bad, I have to use some tiny touch of Vaseline or something like that just to ease it in. Ah, I got lucky. I don't really like using the lubricant on those things because you're never quite sure exactly how it's going to behave on the plastic or whatever is there. I mean, it shouldn't really do any damage, but hey, you never know. What's going on here? Great, just great. Never goes smooth. What we've got here, the looks of it, let me try that again. Oh no, that's good. That's strange. Sometimes on these third-party screens, the hole for where that long screw goes in is filled up with casting plastic, and basically you can't do a damn thing. You have to dig it out. You try use a drill bit or something like that to get it out. It's a nice waste of 10 minutes. Are you sitting in there? Yeah, you're sitting in there. Let's try that again. Not sure why that didn't go in. Joy. Powerful magnets dragging it away. Okay. You're in. I have a feeling that's not in. Not screw in. No, it's not. Alright. Basically what's happened here is this screw, it's good for the original screen, but because of the way this casting of where it screws in, the top 2 or 3 thread starters are missing, or they've been ground out or something like that. Now, rather than use a larger screw, in terms of diameter. I should be able to find. Let's have a look. If I take a 4.8 from the iPhone 4s, or is it the? Let's have a look. Nope, I think it's from the 4. It's a good reason to never actually throw out your old spare phone bits. Strip them down, separate them out, and keep all the parts handy. Let's have a look. Fairly sure this is. Now this is going to be too long, but if it matches the thread, that's a start. Okay, let's match in the thread. The downside is it's about half a millimeter too long. Now if you put that in there and you tighten it up, what will happen is it will come through and it will scratch the paint off the front display there, so you'll have this black screen and there'll be a little silver white dot there. So to fix that up, we actually have to get out the miniature angle grinder and slice off about half a millimeter. Right, fortunately I've got just the thing for that. What else do I need? Excuse me. A pair of decent pliers to hold that while I cut it short. Well, I wouldn't call them decent. How about indecent? Anyway, we don't need much. Hopefully the audio on this won't make a mess of things. Next most important thing, safety glasses. Realistically, I should be wearing safety glasses for all this sort of work, because it's surprising how many times something small, like a little shard of glass shattering out as you bend the screen to kill it out, flies into your eye. Okay, here comes the noise. See how that goes. Now, I've only had glass marred once with these phones, and it was excruciating enough to teach me not to do that again. One of those lessons you really don't want to have to go through, preferably never. Alright, that's great. Tighten it up and there's no punch through, so that's perfect. Right, yes, good. Just as a bit of extra assurance, I'll put a tiny dab of nail polish, cheap, nasty nail polish. There's probably a Loctite that's actually much better for this. The trouble with Loctite is it tends to die in a couple of months after you open it up, and it costs an absolute fortune. I think the last I checked it was like $60 for one tiny little tube, which wouldn't last me very long at all. Alright, that's good, that'll do. Let's see, is everything in? Yes, everything is in. Transfer these compression pads. Come on. Let's see if the gloves catch me up. The hard thing with getting these pads off is make sure you get under the adhesive label, not start splicing it between the adhesive and the foam. Because otherwise you'll get the foam off and you go to apply it and find it doesn't stick. And you can obviously remedy that with using a bit of double-sided tape. Alright, go off into the bin. Let's get this back together. I've still got that long screw. Cool, blimey. Never simple. Great, it's missing on my other ones too. This is why, even though I can do these usually in about an hour, sorry, what am I talking about? I can usually do these in about 10 to 12 minutes if I'm rushing and get it perfect, but I always tend to say an hour for the job, because you really need that amount of time just in case you make a stuff up like this. So, yeah, the 2.4 is just a bit short on that. What else have we got? Here we go. Well, they call these 2.6s. This is for the 4S. It's one of the. Yeah, we'll try that. Let's get the plate. Have a winner. Okay. The diameter's right, the thread pitch is right, it's just not long enough. Alright, let's try one of these, the 3.6. The 3.6 is the one that holds the gold finger down near the camera on the 4S. Now I call them by these names and lengths, but chances are, from what I can tell, they're actually quite similar a lot of the time. Like the 3.6 is definitely not a 3.6 most of the time, it's like a 2.4. So I think what's happened is someone just used measurements and include the head size or something, I don't know. And I just call them those for historical reasons. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I've always been calling it that. What am I going to do? Where are you, long screws? No, no. Nope, nothing there, nothing there. Crikey. What have we got? %, sure these 4.8s are wrong thread. It does go down and you can torque it up a bit, but I think the thread's a little bit too narrow, I think. Yeah, let's try it. This one's going to take a little more than the previous one. There you go. There we go, that should do it. Right. Get this out of the way so we don't get filings through it. Looks good. Let's try it. And it's at that point you realise it really was too narrow a thread. Oh, great. 10-minute job, my butt. Okay, so I'm starting to get desperate, and we pull out the bag of randoms. What do we got here? Well, it's an iPhone 6 set. Let's have a shot. What's it? You're not part of it. Get out of here. Now you'll notice I've actually taped down the screws into their places. So I don't be a complete idiot and long screw damage something. Or I should mark the heads of the screws. Okay, there we go. Alright, that's going in. What did I do with that? Was that one? I think it was that one. That's the long battery screw for the iPhone 6, the battery plate retainer. Right, now we still don't even know if the screen's any good. Now I know it sounds a bit silly because it's a new screen, but believe me, lately, ever since we've come back from the skyrocketing prices from a year ago, the quality of the screens has just been less than great. I used to have about 1 in 10 fail, or dodgy issues, whatever, and that'd be fine, you accept that. But ever since the great price hike and subsequent return to normality, it's been much closer to about, I'd say 1 out of every 4, maybe even 3. I had a whole box of 5S screens the other week that were just all the same dud. You'd put them in, they'd work fine, and then a couple of days later they'd start glitching on the touch, just causing spasms and things like that. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's a bad connector on the phone itself, but I tried it on different phones, same thing. And I cleaned the connectors with isopropyl and all that, same thing. So it was just a bad batch. Alright. The battery's okay. So here we go. I probably should power this up first, just to check. Well, it powers up, so that's good. Oh, now I've got to wait. I know some people put the retainer plates back on even while it's doing this. I'm not willing to push my luck with that. It only takes one slip of the screw or something like that. Screwdriver hits the contact, shorts something to ground, and for the sake of trying to save 30 seconds or how long this is going to take, you've really ruined your day. Come on. Right, it's good. Let's try. I'm not showing the screen because I don't want you to see whose it is. That worked. Excellent. 5Cs are a funny one. You've got to push them down and clip them properly in before you try to run down the rest of the length of it. And if you don't do that, what will happen is it will pop up here. And you probably won't notice until a couple of days after the customer brings it back and says it's coming out. And then you look like a complete idiot for doing that. So yeah, when you put the 5C back on, make sure it clips in at the top properly. Excellent. So make sure the charger works. If you're wondering, you cannot buy these charger units. It's just something I made up for myself. Okay, 660. I'm gonna have to hope that this person's phone's around about 70% charged already, because 700, 750, it's a little low. Turning it away. Come on. There it goes. 740. Yep, 72% charge, so that's good. That's right on the mark. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.